All right, guys, Saunch here. Welcome back to another episode on the Bodybuilding News Network, specifically another episode of Bodybuilding Today, where we're going to break down the Men's Open Bodybuilding scorecard, the lineup for the 2021 Tampa Pro, approximately about 5 days out. It's going to be August 6th through 7th of August of 2021. We have a extremely thick, dense, girthy lineup set for today's video. So I hope you guys enjoy the video for today. Like I said, lots of competitors. It's going to be extremely, extremely competitive. So let's go ahead and start off with the first competitor. We have SLAVOJ BEDNAR. The last time we saw, as I pull up my notes, the last time we saw him was in Chicago, the 2021 Chicago Pro, just recently. He placed 10th in the Men's Open Bodybuilding. And here are his most recent stage shots. The what you guys are so fancy in the comment sections. The front double bicep is now the FDB. Like, is it too hard just to say? I'm just old. I'm just aging myself. But some people call the front double bicep the FDB, and then the back double bicep is the BDB or the RDB. Anywho, these are the shots from BEDNAR's camp here at the most recent Chicago Pro, the 2021 Chicago Pro, where he placed 10th. And looking at his Instagram, as always, all the athletes that I could find, at least, I think I missed one in this video. All the athletes' Instagram tags is going to be in the description of the video. So make sure you guys check out their channels, follow the athletes, and bridge the gap between the casual fan and the athlete. But on Instagram, SLAVOJ BEDNAR, I expect to see relatively the same physique that we saw at the Chicago. You know, give or take a little bit of improvements here or there. That's probably what we're going to see. I would like to see a little bit more conditioning. I'll pull up the photos for you guys again so you take a look. I would like to see a little bit more conditioning in the glutes, just a little bit more of that deeper cut, the separation. I'd like to see a little bit more feathering and tightness, a little less water and skin folds in this lower back department. And then I don't know what you can do in just a couple weeks, but it just seems that his midsection is just a little too big for the frame, where if you kind of see where I'm going with it, it takes away from the X taper, where the lats flowing into the quads in this realm. It kind of takes away from it. But also, he has really narrow clavicles, so it's really also going to affect how wide he can naturally look. Maybe it's posing, maybe it's a structural issue. I'm not sure. BEDNAR, I'd love to hear in the comment sections below. I'm sure he's heard critiques like this before. So, as always, no disrespect to the athletes. I'm barely even an NPC competitor, so I have no room to talk. But I just want to give you guys my my thoughts on BEDNAR competing at this year's Tampa Pro. All right, next on the scorecard, CASTRO. For some reason, the face looks really familiar, but I could not find him on Instagram, so I do apologize. Tag him below if you guys can find him. But the last time we saw him was at the 2019 NPC National Championships. So this show just a few years ago, where he placed second in the heavyweight. I'm assuming that they were giving out pro cards to that second place finisher for that heavyweight class. They do that sometimes. I notice. I can't remember the guy's name. Nate Spear. I've noticed that at some of the shows that he competes at, he like misses that pro card by just an inch. He's a very, very prominent, very successful NPC bodybuilder. He's going to be a pro soon, I expect it. But I've noticed that he's gotten really, really close to winning shows, but some shows they give pro cards to second place and sometimes they don't. But it looks like in this show for Castro, they did. Now, moving into his Instagram, where we can see the most recent physique update from the Castro camp. Looking from what we can see, I mean, these are old stage shots. Looking at from what we can see on his Instagram, I expect to see a fairly good level of volume and conditioning, fullness in the muscles. Now, with him competing this year at the Tampa Pro, it's going to be a heavy lineup, guys. So, is this going to be a physique that's going to land in that first call out? Probably not. No disrespect, of course, to Castro. Could he probably fall in that that higher echelons of that second call out, maybe a 7 or an 8 or a 9? I think it's definitely possible. He has beautiful lines, beautiful structure. Looking at this photo here, I mean, he has great legs, the muscle insertions, the separation striations all the way up into the posing trunks. I love that. I love seeing that in competitors. And then also just that crazy shreddedness in the glutes. I like to see that as well. So this is actually from the 2019 USA Championships. So maybe the NPC News Online site was just a little off. But expect to see him at the show. Here's his Instagram. Go follow him. Almost 6,000. Let's see if we can get to 6,000, guys. Next on the list is Max Charles. Last time we saw Max Charles was at the 2021 Chicago Pro, where he placed 3rd in the men's open bodybuilding. Going to be a favorite. A lot of people are really excited and very impressed with the amount of leg development and improvement that he's brought, or at least that he did bring at Chicago. Assuming that this maintains or even improves in conditioning, I'd like to see a little bit more here in that upper leg development. If this could improve and get just a little bit tighter, the midsection looks great, maybe not so much from the back, but if this can improve in conditioning, bringing everything in just a little bit tighter, I think you could get a top 3 call here. This lineup is ridiculous. There's a lot of big hitters on this list. We're going to be talking about potentially one of them just up next, but I definitely expect Max Charles to be in this first call out. Will he be in the top 3? Let me know down below. And there's not much we can say about the changing in his physique and his conditioning moving into this Tampa Pro. He didn't post too much leading into the Chicago Pro between him and his team, and even Redcon, the promotional powerhouse that they are. They didn't post too much coming into the Chicago. I don't think they're going to be posting too much coming into the Tampa. I think they're going to let Max Charles's physique, the work, do the talking instead of the social media presence do the talking. So I can respect that for the most part. Expect to see Max Charles at this year's Tampa Pro, but let me know, guys, what you guys think about his potential placings. Do you think he's going to place in that top 3? Let me know down below. Now, the next guy on the list, Big Bad Bundy, or I remember when I tried saying this name last time, JEPHTE CHERENFANT. It sounds familiar, so I think I got it pretty close. The last time we saw CHERENFANT, or Big Bad Bundy, was at the 2020 NPC National Championships, or USA's, where he won his pro card in the super heavyweights. So this is going to be his pro debut. Very excited to see what's going to be coming out of that camp. Now, I know that the Big Bad Bundy and his team, they do not post too much. Their Instagram is really quiet, which is, I don't know, it is what it is when you come to these with these competitors. But I mean, he has a great physique. He's a taller gentleman. He has good muscle insertions. He's definitely unique with the crazy hair and the beard. But it'll be interesting to see how this correlates onto a pro stage. But I'm definitely interested to hear what you guys think. Have you guys seen any physique updates from the Big Bad Bundy camp? And what are your predictions for Big Bad Bundy coming into his pro debut at this heavily stacked 2021 Tampa Pro? Another competitor that we've seen plenty of this year is Phil CLAHAR. Now, I have on my notes that he did the New York Pro. He did, but he also did the Chicago Pro, where he placed, I believe it was 10th or 11th. So I must have messed up my my numbers here, but I know he did the Chicago Pro. He kind of got lost in the lineup. It was a very deep lineup. And Phil CLAHAR has a beautiful physique. It's just, I feel like he just got overlooked at the Tampa Pro. I thought he looked really good, very conditioned. There was nothing really lagging. Maybe he could use some improvements in the legs. But from the back especially is probably some of his better shots. I'd be interested to see how well he does as well. But like I said, the last time we saw him was at that Chicago Pro. But it will be interesting to see how he does at this year's Tampa Pro. Let me know what you guys are predicting for Phil CLAHAR at the Tampa Pro. Next on the scorecard is Camilo DIAZ. The last time we saw Camilo DIAZ was at the 2021 Indy Pro, where he placed 7th in the men's open bodybuilding. really impressive physique, very small waist, great shape with the legs, could use a little bit more size for the most part all around, except in the biceps, which look freaky on his physique. I love the conditioning. I love the way his body flows. Just maybe might need a little bit more meat on the bones, a little meat on that physique, just a little bit more. Moving over to his Instagram, I'm liking what I'm seeing. I think I see some improvements here. He looks great. Conditioned. I feel like the legs still need just a little bit more work. Maybe it's the way he's holding it. Maybe it's Maybelline. Let me know down below. But here's his Instagram. Like I said, as always, the Instagrams are in the description of the video if you guys want to follow these athletes. But let me know, guys, what do you guys think for CAMILO DIAZ? How do you think he's going to do at this year's Tampa Pro? Next on the list is MOKAMED EMAN. And I believe, if I remember correctly, the last time we saw him was at the 2021 Indy Pro. So another Indy Pro competitor here. He started early in this competitive season. He placed second at the Indy Pro, right behind Justin Rodriguez. So we recently saw him compete just a few months ago. A definite favorite for this show. I think some people are going to be overlooking him, but he has a beautiful physique. I think he could do really well at this show. He has the size, he has the mass, he's really, really wide. I really think he could do well. I think he could place in that top 3. And moving over to his Instagram, we could take just a quick look to see how his physique is looking coming into the show. It's been not too long. It's been a couple months since we saw him on the Indy Pro stage. So we can expect to see, in my opinion, probably a very similar physique. If anything, just a little bit tighter. This is from 4 days ago. It looks very comparable to his Indy Pro package. But let me know in the comment sections below, guys. What do you think about Imam, Mohamed El Imam? Let me know how you think he's going to compete at this year's show. Next on the scorecard is Douglas Frucchey. Apologize if I messed that one up. But Douglas Frucchey, a new pro in the IFBB, turned pro at the 2020 Worldwide Amateurs Olympia in Orlando. He placed second in the super heavyweight, so I'm assuming that they gave out a pro card for that second place finish, or the records were not complete and they're missing a show over on the NPC News Online, which, you know, in all reality is somewhat common. It's not too rare to see that. And if we could take a look at how he looked in 2020, we can get a small inclination on what we can expect to see from him coming into this Tampa Pro. Now, he has had an entire year to improve this package, to build it up, put some more conditioning. But moving over to his Instagram, Douglas Frucchey. Apologies if I'm saying it wrong, but taking a look at what he's got going on here on his Instagram, he looks big, he looks full, but time's going to tell for the conditioning. He looks good in this photo. He didn't look as great in the photos that I just showed you guys, but if he can bring an improved package, I could definitely see him fighting for that middle spot in that second call out. But let me know what you guys think in the comment sections below for Douglas Frucchey. Next on the scorecard is, I apologize for the name. You take a look at it and say it in your mind, and you try saying it right. I'll give a shot. It's going to be EIREN. Maybe it's Irish. He's from Canada, so it could be European. EIREN GAULEY. Or GAULEY. GAULEY. I like GAULEY. That sounds better. Sounds less creepy. GAULEY. But the last time we saw EIREN is at the 2019 NPC North American Championships, where he placed third in the super heavyweight. But this is the most recent physique we have out of his camp. So 3 days ago, I would like to see more conditioning. I'd like to see a lot of this water go away. And to be fair, I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm just giving you guys my opinion. It could be that just the muscle just isn't there yet. It could be the lighting washing out. It could be an old photo. It's really hard to tell. So it's really going to come down to, as you know, it always does. It's going to come down to what they look like on the stage. So take what I say in these videos with a grain of salt. The intent, as I beat the crap out of my mic, the intent is for you to get eyes on these athletes, see them, find their Instagram, and just introduce you, the casual fan of bodybuilding, to these athletes. So always remember that that is my intent. I'm not trying to be a dick to these athletes. But next on the scorecard is Dorian HAYWOOD. He just competed at the New York Pro. As I pull up my my footage for him, the last time we saw Dorian HAYWOOD compete was at the 2021 New York Pro, where he placed 4th. So a first call-out competitor coming into this Tampa Pro. We have a lot of big names in this show. We've already mentioned a few of them: the MAXX Charleses of the world, the Big Bad Bundys potentially. Phil CLAHAR is always a dark horse. The MOKAMED El Imam, I feel, is going to do well in this show, and also Dorian HAYWOOD is throwing his hat into this show. He is historically a large competitor. He brings very full, very wide package. You can look at this back double, very dense 3D muscle really coming at you. So do not count Dorian HAYWOOD out of your top 6 predictions for the Tampa Pro. I'd love to hear what you guys are thinking in the comment sections below for Dorian, because with that 4th place finish, it really does spell some possibility for him to do well at this show. We've talked about the density and the thickness of this lineup at the Tampa Pro, and I feel like this could really be a good show for Dorian to step out and surprise people. He's always big, he's always full and thick, but the question is, like, what kind of conditioning can we expect to see here in these legs? I'm a big stickler. I'm a huge 212 fan. So those guys are always diced to the socks all the way up into the posing trunks. I'd like to see that from Dorian. I'd like to see that from all the open guys. So let me know your predictions down below. As we're steamrolling through this one, kind of an interesting one. I'm going to message Kevin and see if he wants to say anything. He is a man of chosen words. He's not afraid of speaking his mind on Instagram, and I do enjoy him for that. I do salute him for that. But he is a 212 competitor. The last time we saw him was at the Chicago Pro, where he placed 11th. Kind of got lost in the lineup. Very beautiful physique, very aesthetically flowing. He has a lot of muscle in a lot of areas, but it looks like he wants to make a splash in the open. From my knowledge here, from my seat, from my desktop, Xavier, from my foxhole, this is going to be his open debut in the IFBB for the men's open. But like I said, the last time we saw him was at Chicago. He placed 11th in the 212, so it looks like he's probably just borderlining on that 212 weight, so he's going to come in a little fuller. I'm worried that you might lose a little bit of this beautiful 212 conditioning up into the posing, as long as he's able to maintain this midsection, the vacuum, and then this leg separation. I feel like he can do well. I think he could definitely be battling for that 7, 8, maybe 9th position here at the Chicago Pro, or the Tampa Pro, apologies. But let me know down below, guys, what do you guys think of potentially, if this is correct, Kevin Johnson switching up into the open for this year's Tampa Pro? I also heard a rumor that Bo Lewis was going to switch into the open, but I don't think that's true. But let me know if you guys have heard anything about that as well. And of course, going over to Kevin Johnson's Instagram page, make sure you guys are following these athletes. Not too much in terms of physique updates. Looks like some old stage shots from back in June. Not much we can take away from these shots, but best of luck to Kevin Johnson if he does decide actually to do the open at this year's Tampa Pro. Next on the list is Matt KOUBA. Matt KOUBA, the last time we saw him was also at the Chicago Pro. I had him placing very well at this year's Chicago Pro. The odds were not ever in his favor. He didn't place as well as I thought he was going to. The last time we saw him was at the Chicago Pro, but my notes say the Tampa Pros. Well, looking at the NPC News Online, I fudged up my notes, so I apologize. The last time we saw Matt KOUBA was at the 2021 Chicago Pro, where he placed 9th in the men's open bodybuilding. Looking at his conditioning at the show, I thought he looked really good in the conditioning. If we're looking at it, say, compared to his Tampa Pro last year, it looks very similar. I like to call him Mr. Conditioning. So he brought great conditioning. I thought good separation in the glutes, hamstrings. Maybe he's just not holding it right, but he looked really good in the showing. I expect him to do well at this show. But again, it's a very deep lineup. A lot of competitors are coming into this one. So it will be interesting. It will be interesting to see how he does at this year's Tampa Pro. But let me know in the comment sections below, guys, what are your thoughts on Matt KOUBA competing at this year's Tampa Pro, and how well do you think he's going to do? An exciting one. I apologize. He did not place last at last year's Mr. Olympia. He placed 12th at last year's Mr. Olympia. The next competitor on the list is SEUNGCHUL Lee. And like I said, the last time we saw him was at the 2020 Mr. Olympia, where he did not place last. He placed 12th in the men's open category. Now, this one is going to be a very interesting comparison, because he won his Olympia debut, his Olympia qualification at the Monster Gym, I think it's called, the Monster Korea Pro. The Korea Pro. That's the show he won. He beat out Samson Dauda and then a bunch of Korean competitors. No disrespect, of course. So he hasn't really had a good chance to compare against, I hate to say it, but tier 2 competitors. So when we're starting to look at people on this list, some of these guys that are seasoned Olympia competitors, people that have placed well and won pro shows, I am going to be very interested to see how he places next to these guys and how he's going to compare next to someone like a Max Charles, someone like an Ian Valliere. I'm worried that he's going to get lost in the mix, although he is an Olympian, which does hold some gravity. It holds some weight. I feel like in his very specific situation with how he's qualified and how he's been placing at other shows. If you remember, even before then, he did the Japan Pro, and I think he got 5th behind people like Cedric McMillan, who has historically not placed well at the Olympia. So you got to think about things like that when you're thinking about their potential predictions. But it all matters. That's like a supplement label on the back of a product. It doesn't, this stuff doesn't always matter on the back, but it matters about like how it makes you feel. So that correlation, as I go into this ramble, is it's really going to matter on how he shows up on stage, how he looks. So as we get closer and closer to this Tampa Pro, we'll have a better inclination on how he's going to show up and how he's going to look coming into this Tampa Pro. Looking at his Instagram, go ahead and follow him, Bodybuilder Chul. Very easy one to follow. We did another video kind of talking about this, his physique update. I was a little worried that he's just kind of flat. He has good separation in the abs, but it's just nothing is like crazy conditioned. And this is 5 days ago. So we're looking at less than 2 weeks out from the Tampa Pro. He is big. He is full. The tan is going to look really nice. I'm just worried that he just isn't going to have enough conditioning to separate that young, new muscle that he has on that big frame. Next on the list is Justin MAKI. Like I said with a lot of these competitors, the last time we saw Justin MAKI was at the 2021 Chicago Pro. He also placed in that second call-out. He placed 8th at the Chicago Pro. I did an in-depth breakdown of Justin MAKI on the most recent Monday Muscle episode with Ty Jordan, so make sure you guys watch that. We broke down his physique and how he can improve it, so I'm not going to talk too much about his physique in this video because it would be redundant. But we will take a look at his Instagram to get a little bit of a better idea of how he's going to look coming into the show. A very recent showing at the Chicago Pro, so we can expect to see this, or maybe even hopefully just a little bit more conditioned version of Justin MAKI at the Tampa Pro. But let me know down below what you guys think. Another competitor that's been heavily competing this year is Mohamed SHAABAN, another competitor that placed well at the Chicago Pro. Again, he placed in the, what was he? He got 4th place at the Chicago Pro. My notes, I have him at the Puerto Rico, which is not the most recent competition that he's done. But again, another athlete that we've talked about heavily while within that interview with myself and Ty Jordan. We talked about how we thought about him, how we thought about Hassan Mustafa, people like that. He might be able to come in a little bit more conditioned, but he is really running on E. He's competed a lot this year. I'm not sure how many shows he can do, how many more shows he can do and still maintain that fullness before everything just starts to wash out. So that does worry me. If he does qualify on points for the Olympia, it makes me wonder how good he can show up, if that makes sense. Because once you're burnt out, I remember like with Derek Oslin, he did so many shows last year that he had to kind of pull the plug on this year just because everything just wasn't working. And his shows that he was showing up to just weren't what he wanted. Things weren't working, and I'm worried that might happen with Mohamed SHAABAN. Could he place in this first call out? Sure. Is he going to bring the conditioning enough to get into that first call out? Probably. But is that the best decision? Is that the best decision for him in his camp? Because that could spell a bad placing for him at the Olympia. Who knows? I think if I was in his shoes, I'd probably just keep competing, because just getting to the Olympia and standing on stage next to the best of the best has a lot of benefits, and it's a lot of experience that you'd want to have. So I guess at the end of the day, I don't have anything bad to say about him continuing to compete extensively through the 2021 competitive calendar. Next on the list is Joel Thomas. The last time we saw Joel Thomas, it's been a minute, was at the 2019 Tampa Pro, where he placed 8th in the men's open category. So pretty old photos from Joel Thomas, but in all respect, it's very impressive physique. His Instagram recently was hacked. So if you guys want to support him and follow him, you can do so at his new Instagram here, Joel Thomas _IFBB Pro. But like I said, the last time we saw him was at the 2019 Tampa Pro. I do all these overlays and I just can't even find them. So apologies, I'm a little flustered. But I have the raw photos here, so I'll just pull those up instead. But like I said, the last time we saw him was at the 2019 Tampa Pro. A very beautiful physique. I would like to see a lot more mass in some of these departments, or maybe just holding these shots a little differently to make him look wider, because these shots make him look just a tad bit narrow in my opinion. But moving over to his Instagram, looking like an absolute freak in the best way possible. I think it'd be a very good comparison to have him and Dorian HAYWOOD stand next to each other. I think that would be a nice comparison. Or even him and Ian VALLIERE could potentially be a good comparison. A lot of muscle, a lot of chest. I think that'd be cool. I think that'd be cool to see him and Ian stand next to each other. It looks like Rough Diesel approves. So let me know in the comment section below, what do you guys think about Joel Thomas and his potential placings at this year's Tampa Pro? And like I just talked about him, the next competitor on our scorecard is Ian VALLIERE. The last time we saw Ian VALLIERE compete was at the 2020 Mr. Olympia, where he placed 7th in the men's open category. Now, I thought it was interesting. I don't remember his front double bicep being terrible. I thought it was a good shot for him, but maybe not. I noticed that during his the photos that they put up normally are through his routine, which isn't like a comparison round. It's not like a first call out, second call out. It's them by themselves on the stage, and he decided not to do the front double. So that's why we have a front most muscular, hands on hip most muscular. From these shots, I like what I saw from him. Very good conditioning. I'd like to see more coming up into the posing trunks. I think that would really complete that physique. And from what we've been seeing from his, oh shoot, I pasted it into Daniel's page. From what we've been seeing from his camp coming into the 2021 Tampa Pro, we can expect to see a very conditioned version of Ian Valliere. He looks like he's made some improvements in size. It looks like he's made improvements in conditioning. He's just an absolute freak. He's going to be one of those future competitors that are really going to be shocking up that first call out. I'd like to see him and James Hollingshead. There we go. I said it right. I'd like to see a comparison between those two guys. So maybe Fernando or Bison Tries, maybe they'll put up a photo comparison of those two. I'm not sure. Shameless plug. I'm taking like the day spell from Black Magic. I have a 20% off discount code if you guys want to check that out. But besides that, they don't pay me. But it's a great nootropic besides slamming Adderall that I have a prescription for. Moving into the next competitor, the last competitor is going to be Keith Williams. The last time we saw Keith Williams compete was Big Williams. He's actually from Lawrence, Kansas, I believe, which when I was in Kansas City, it was actually very close to me. That's actually where I met my wife, so that's kind of cool. The last time we saw him was at the 2021 Pittsburgh Pro Masters. So he competed in the Masters class and got 4th. Now, what that's going to be spelling for his placings here at this show, I'm not sure. The conditioning was not on at all. So just looking at the rest of the competitors on the list, I don't think he's going to be placing above too many of them with this level of conditioning. If he brings up the conditioning a lot, maybe we might see him knock off a few of these guys. No disrespect to Big Will here, but that is the tale of the tape. And that'll do it for another episode on the Bodybuilding News Network, guys. My name's Saunch, your host, and thank you so much for watching. If there's something that I can do to make these videos better, if there's something I can say or something I can improve upon, please let me know. But if there's something you did enjoy, if you thought that this video was informative or entertaining, please consider subscribing, because we have lots more contest coverage and interviews with some of the world's best athletes in bodybuilding coming out very soon. That's the end of this one. Thank you so much for watching. My name's Saunch, and I'll see you in the next one.